I said I wasn't going to do a video again, seeing that we did one during tutorial, but I decided to go ahead and do one anyway. This video will not be loaded until I get home, so it may take a while. This is lesson 6.2, linear functions. Your homework for tonight is page 261, numbers 5 through 11. Linear function equation. Your equation for your linear function equation is y equals mx plus b. M stands for the change in y over the change in x. Let's break that down just a little bit more. The actual function is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that is what your m stands for. That's how you calculate your actual value for your m. Now your b is a little different. Your b is your actual y-intercept, and that is where your line crosses your y-axis. At this point, when you cross your y-axis, your x value will be 0. So you're looking for what is that y value when that line crosses your y-axis. I'm going to give you just a few minutes to write that down. If by chance you refuse to write it down again, I would advise you to print this out or either pause it, come back to it. You need to learn your formula. You need to learn how to find the actual calculation for m and know what your y-intercept is. Okay, on to our next page. This is an example. We did go over this in class, so it should be quite familiar. I would advise you to follow along as I work the problem. Ask yourself some of the questions that I will be stating or referencing to. Now, the first thing that we would like to do when we get ready to solve for this problem is to look at your directions. Your direction states on page 261, number 5, use the graph or table to write a linear function that relates y to x. So the first thing we're going to do, we need to find 2 points on this graph to plot. The points that I am going to use is going to be this point right here, which is x and y. That's how I like to write my points. So this would be 6, 10. Then I'm going to also use this point right here, which is 3, 6. Now, something that I did not do in class, and I always like to have a visual of it, is to let you all know where and how we come up with these numbers. You're always going to go along your your x-axis and then up to your y-axis. So you're going to go over to 6 and you're going to go up to 10. That's how we came up with 6, 10. For our next point, you will go over to where it is, which is 3, and you will go up, which it is at 6. And that's how we come with the ordered pairs of 3, 6. So you need to know how to find ordered pairs on a graph. It is very, very important that you put your ordered pairs in the right order. I'm going to erase this. If you need help with plotting points or you need to know how to find points on your graph, I would advise you to rewind it and pause it. But I'm going to erase this for right now. Okay. So now that we have our ordered pairs, the next thing that I would like to do is to find my change in y and my change in x. That formula again is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is my m. Now all I'm going to do is go in and substitute my numbers. So I'm going to say 10 minus 6 over 6 minus 3. 10 minus 6 is 4. And 6 minus 3 is 3. So m is equal to 4 over 3. We are not yet finished. Would love to have drawn a chart, but I'm going to try to box it off. That's one set of work, and then this is another set of work. So it's kind of boxed off in steps. So the next thing that we need to do is find out where our y-intercept is. Because again, our equation for this problem is y equals mx plus b. M is our slope, which is our change in y over our change in x. And x is just there, we just keep it, and b is our y-intercept. Now let's go back to our chart, and I'm just going to draw a line here. And remember I said that our y-intercept will be where our x value is 0, and it's where our line that we're drawing crosses our y-intercept, our y-axis. This is it right here. This is 0, 2. So our y value here is 2. So b is equal to 2. Now we need to write this in the linear function equation format. So we will write this as y equals, here's our m, that's where this number is coming from, 4 over 3x plus our b value, which is here, and it'll be plus b. Not plus b, I'm sorry. Plus 2. We now know what that value is, so we need to put that number there instead of that variable. So this is your answer for number 5. That's the work that you do to find it. You find your 2 points. You find your change in y over your change in x. Then you find your slope-intercept. Not your slope-intercept, your y-intercept. And then you want to write it in the equation form. Here are the notes that I gave in class that you guys did not write down. I would advise you all to write them down because I most likely will not give them again. Step 1, pick 2 points. List them as x and y. Here's your example. I have 2 points, 3, 4, and 5, 7. Step 2, use the points to find the slope of which is m. Your formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I took the points and I labeled them as x1, y1, x2, x1. And that should have been x2, y2. So I'm going to go in and change that right now. So kind of follow me along as I go in and change that. Found an error. So let's go back over that again. Use your points to find the slope. X2 minus, again, use the points to find the slope M. That's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I took my points and I labeled them as x1, y1, x2, y2. Now I need to substitute for my variables in my equation. So I took my numbers from my points, or my ordered pairs, and I put them into my linear slope equation. This is your, just for your slope, your M. So that is 7 minus 4 equals 3 over 5 minus 3, which equals 2. So now M is equal to 3 over 2. That is step 2. That's what you do at step 2. Now, step 3, you're going to find your y-intercept. Remember, this is the y value when your x value is 0. And then your final step is to write it as an equation, y equals mx plus b. I'm going to write it as the equation, y equals mx plus b. You all need to write these steps down. Use these steps every time you are trying to find this. It will help you out. You can use this if you have a graph or if you have a table. If they give it to you as a graph or as a table, you can use it either way. These are actually the steps that I used on the first problem. I just decided to pull them aside and write them down. Okay. Now let's do one where we actually have a table. This is number 8 on your homework. I'm going to do those steps that are on that previous page. The first thing that I'm going to do is find 2 points. I'm going to actually pick 2 different points that we used in class. In class, we use 0, 0, and 1, 2. I'm going to use -2. Remember, they're written as x, y. So I'm going to pick -2, -4, and I'm going to pick -1, -2. So those are my points. I'm going to also go ahead and label them as x1, y1, and x2, y2. Now, the next thing that I want to do is find my change in x, my change in y over my change in x. So our equation for this part is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to come to the side and write that out. That will be negative 4 minus, wrong number. I did that last time, didn't I? Our y2 is negative 2 minus negative 4 over negative 1 minus negative 2. Now, a lot of you all don't like to use our negative numbers because we do have to remember when you're subtracting, we do use the keep change method. So we're going to keep our negative 2, change our subtraction sign to an adding sign, and we're going to change this negative 4 to a positive 4. We're going to do the same technique on the bottom. Keep your negative 1, change your subtraction to a plus, and then we're going to change our negative 2 to now a positive 2. Now let's do the math. Negative 2 plus 4, those are unlike terms, so we have to subtract and take the sign of our largest number. 4 minus 2 gives us 2, and that is a positive 2. Our next one is negative 1 plus 2, same technique here. 2 minus 1 will give us 1, and it will be positive. So any number over 1 is just that number. And I'm going to move this over so you can see it a little better because it's running off the page right now. That was 2 over 1, which is equal to 2. So our slope here, our m, is 2. Now we need to find our y-intercept. Remember, your y-intercept is where your x is 0. You want to know what your y value is. So when our x is 0, our y value is 0. So b is also 0. Now you need to write this as a formula or in your linear function equation of y equals mx plus b. We're going to keep our y equals. Now, instead of putting m, we know what m is now, which is 2. We're going to keep your x. And because our b is 0, we don't have to write it down. So our linear function equation is y equals 2x. That's all you have to do. Now, should you have any questions, I would advise you to go back through and look at the video again, follow the steps step by step, and that will assist you. If you have not completed the steps that I've given you, you might want to give it a shot. Make sure you do your homework. It is due tomorrow. Let's not get off on a bad foot this week. Make sure you do your homework every night, and I will see you guys tomorrow.